Once upon a time in Lagos, there was a 13-year-old boy named Tunde Adewale. Tunde wasn't like most boys his age. While other children chased footballs in the dusty streets of Surleer, Tunde's sharp eyes caught things people missed. He could tell when someone's laugh was fake, when a smile was hiding something dark, and when danger was close, even if nobody else could see it. He lived in a grand white-painted mansion in Ikoyi with his father, Mr. Adewale, a respected businessman who owned one of the largest transport companies in the city. Their lives had been quiet, almost lonely, ever since Tun's mother passed away 6 years ago. Father and son, two hearts healing together.
But on one sunny Saturday morning, that silence shattered.
Mr. Adewale came home with a woman by his side. She was stunning, dressed in a tight emerald gown that glittered under the Lagos sun. Her name was Chioma, and her smile seemed too wide, too practiced. "Tund," his father said proudly, "meet my fiancée. We're getting married in 3 weeks." Tunde froze. His chest tightened. He looked at Chioma and saw something behind her beauty, something cold, something dangerous. He didn't know it yet, but this woman would change everything. And unless he acted fast, his father's wedding day would become his father's funeral. Tunde stood frozen in the living room, his hands gripping the edge of the sofa. His father's words echoed in his ears. "We're getting married in 3 weeks." Chioma's smile was still painted across her face, but her eyes flickered with something else. Not warmth, not kindness, something Tund couldn't name yet, but it made his stomach twist. "Hello, sweet boy," Chioma said in a syrupy voice, reaching out to touch his cheek. Tund instinctively stepped back, giving her only a polite nod. His father frowned slightly, not noticing the boy's unease. "She's wonderful, Tund," Mr. Adewale said proudly. "She makes me happy again." But Tunde didn't feel happiness in that room. He felt the walls close in, heavy and suffocating. That evening, the house felt different. Normally, it was filled with quiet comfort, just him and his father, maybe the hum of the generator outside, maybe the smell of pepper soup from the kitchen. But now, Chioma's laugh echoed through the marble corridors, too high-pitched, too forced, bouncing off the walls like something that didn't belong. Tunde lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling fan spinning lazily. He thought about his late mother, about how gentle her laughter was, how soft her hands had been when she touched his hair. Chioma wasn't like her. No, Chioma felt like someone who wore a mask. He picked up his father's iPad and searched her name online. Nothing useful came up. Just a few polished photos on social media, her face flawless, her clothes stylish, but no old friends tagging her, no family pictures, no history.
"Why so hidden?" Tund whispered to himself.
The next day, Mr. Adewale insisted they all go out for lunch at a restaurant in Victoria Island. The restaurant was bustling with music, plates clinking and laughter floating in the air. But at their table, Tunde hardly touched his jollof rice. He kept his eyes on Chioma. She laughed at all his father's jokes, tossing her long braids over her shoulders dramatically. "Oh, Adewale, you're too funny," she said, placing her hand gently on his arm. Tunde noticed something. Her eyes weren't really on his father. They lingered on the gold wristwatch his father wore, a limited edition Rolex gifted years ago. She stared at it for just a second too long, and Tunde's chest tightened again. "Dad," Tunde said suddenly, his voice sharper than usual.
His father looked surprised. "Yes, son? Can I talk to you? Alone?"
Mr. Adewale looked at him curiously, then sighed. "Fine. Let's step outside." They moved to the restaurant's balcony, away from the clatter of plates. The Lagos lagoon shimmered in the distance, sunlight dancing on the water.
"Why are you marrying her?" Tunde asked softly.
His father blinked. "What do you mean? It's been 6 years since your mother passed. Don't you think it's time I found happiness again? You've been lonely, too. Chioma brings joy back into this house." Tund shook his head slowly. "No, Dad. That's not what I want. I don't trust her." Mr. Adewale's shoulders stiffened. "Tunde, don't be unfair. She's trying. She's pretending," Tund pressed. "Can't you see it? Her laugh, her eyes. She's hiding something." But his father sighed and turned away. "You're just being a child. You'll understand when you're older."
"Dad, please."
"That's enough, Tunde. Go back inside." The boy's chest ached as he obeyed. He returned to the table, watching Chioma's smile grow wider as if she had already won. In the days that followed, Tund became quieter, but his eyes grew sharper. He noticed how Chioma's tone changed when his father wasn't around, how her smile vanished when she thought no one was looking. He saw her peeking at documents on his father's desk, asking questions about company shares, bank accounts, and house papers. One night, unable to sleep, Tunde tiptoed downstairs for water. As he passed the guest room where Chioma stayed, he froze. Her voice seeped through the door, low but clear enough. Once he drinks it, everything will be ours. Yes, I've already prepared it. Don't fail me this time. Tunde's blood ran cold. His small hands trembled against the wall. He'll drink it at the wedding. That's the only way. After that, it's done. Tunde staggered backward, heart pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. He rushed to his room, shut the door, and sat on his bed in shock. What was in the drink? What was she planning? The next morning at breakfast, Chioma sat across from him, smiling sweetly. Did you sleep well, Tund? Yes, he answered flatly, staring directly into her eyes. She blinked once, then looked away. He turned to his father. Dad, please, I need to talk to you again. But his father was already late for work. We'll talk later, son, he said, kissing Chioma's forehead as he left. Tunde's stomach twisted. Later might be too late. That night he made a decision. He borrowed his father's old phone, placed it behind a flower vase in the sitting room, and turned on the recorder. If Chioma was plotting something, he was going to catch her. Hours passed. Then, just after 10 p.m., she walked into the sitting room, phone pressed to her ear. I told you I'm handling it, she whispered. Once the wedding is done and he drinks it, the house, the cars, the money, everything is mine. I said mine, not ours. Upstairs, Tun's eyes widened as he listened later. She was lying not just to his father, but to the person on the phone, too. She was dangerous. Truly dangerous. The wedding was only days away. And Tunde knew one thing for sure now. He wasn't just protecting his father from heartbreak. He was trying to save his father's life. The night air in Koi was unusually still. The hum of generators from neighboring houses faded into the background, and the compound seemed too quiet, as if even the crickets had stopped singing. Tunde sat cross-legged on his bed, staring at the phone in his hand. On it, the recording played over and over, Chioma's cold voice saying, once the wedding is done and he drinks it, the house, the cars, the money, everything is mine. His chest tightened with every replay. She wasn't just pretending to love his father. She was planning something deadly. The calendar on his desk showed a red circle around the date. 5 days to the wedding. 5 days before everything could be destroyed. Tunde thought of going straight to his father with the evidence, but the memory of Mr. Adewale dismissing him at the restaurant still burned in his mind. What if Dad doesn't believe me again? What if he says I faked it? Chioma was too clever, too smooth. She could cry fake tears, twist the story, and make Tunde look like a bitter child who didn't want a stepmother. He rubbed his forehead, whispering to himself, I need more proof, stronger proof. The next evening, Chioma's laughter filled the living room as she scrolled through her phone, showing memes to Mr. Adewale. Baby, look at this dog in sunglasses, she giggled. His father laughed heartily, but Tin didn't join in. He sat silently, his eyes fixed on her manicured fingers. Every move she made seemed rehearsed. When she touched his father's glass, when she adjusted her hair, when she leaned just a little too close. Later that night, Tunde crouched behind his slightly open bedroom door, waiting. Around 11 p.m., her footsteps padded softly through the hallway. She entered the sitting room again. The recorder hidden behind the flower vase was already running. I said I've handled it, haven't I? Why are you disturbing me again? Her voice was sharper this time, irritated. A pause. Then she snapped again. Listen, he trusts me like a fool. After the wedding, we give him a drink. Then it's over. Toon's heartbeat thundered in his ears. Another pause. Then her voice rose, colder, firmer. You'll get your cut. But don't think we're sharing equally. I'm the one marrying him, not you. Don't call me again at night. You'll ruin everything. The call ended. Her slippers shuffled against the marble tiles as she left the sitting room. Tund quietly closed his door, chest heaving. She wasn't just planning against his father, she was planning against her own partner. That meant she was dangerous on every side, willing to betray anyone, even the person helping her. The next morning, Tund rushed to the recorder and played it back. Her words were crystal clear. This time there was no doubt. She had revealed enough to trap herself. But still, a voice inside him whispered, "What if Dad thinks it's edited? What if she cries and says you're lying?"
He needed something physical, something undeniable.
That afternoon, his father called him into the study. "Tund," Mr. Adewale said gently, "I feel like you've been avoiding Chioma. What's going on? She's been trying to be nice, but you're always quiet." Cold, Tundi's heart pounded. He wanted to shout the truth, but when he looked into his father's eyes, he saw love. Blind, desperate love.
So instead he asked softly, "If Mom was still alive, do you think she would like Chioma?"
Mr. Adewale paused, leaning back in his chair. His eyes softened. "Your mother would want me to be happy."
"But happy or safe?" Tunde asked quietly. His father frowned. "What do you mean?"
Tundi's lips parted, but he swallowed the words. He shook his head. "Nothing." "Son," Mr. Adewale said firmly, "I know this isn't easy, but I want us to be a family again. Don't fight it." Tunde nodded slowly, though his heart was breaking. He left the room with tears stinging his eyes. The next day was Sunday, and the three of them attended church together. Chioma held Mr. Adewale's hand tightly through the service, smiling like the perfect bride. Afterward, church members gathered around them, showering congratulations.
"She's so beautiful, sir." "You're a lucky man," one woman said.
Chioma turned to Tund, smiling sweetly. "Are you excited, sweetheart? We're going to be one big happy family." Tunde looked her dead in the eye. His voice was low but sharp. So are snakes before they bite.
Her smile faltered.
His father turned.
"What did you say, Tund?" "Nothing," he muttered, walking away.
That night, there was a knock on his door. He opened it to see Chioma smiling faintly. "Can I come in?" He stepped aside silently. She looked around his tidy room. Nice place. Very neat. Tunde folded his arms. She turned to him, her smile tightening. "I know you don't like me, but I'm not trying to replace your mom. I just want your dad to be happy."
"Really?" Tund asked coldly. "Yes," she said softly. "Then tell me the truth."
She blinked.
"Who were you talking to on the phone last night?"
Her smile slipped. "I wasn't talking to anyone. You said after he drinks it, everything will be mine." "What drink?" Her laugh burst out suddenly, high and fake. "Are you spying on me? You've been watching too many movies."
"I heard you."
She stepped closer, her perfume sharp in the air. She touched his shoulder lightly. "Look, I forgive you. But don't say such things again, okay? It can hurt people." She turned and left his room, leaving Tunde trembling. She wasn't afraid. That was the scariest part. 2 days to the wedding, Tunde sat cross-legged on the floor, headphones on, playing the recordings over and over. He copied them to his father's laptop, then to a flash drive. He even emailed them to himself. She can delete the phone, but she can't delete the truth, he thought. That evening, Chioma supervised delivery men carrying boxes of wine into the backyard. Tunde followed one of them quietly. "Please, sir," he asked one of the men, "where did this wine come from?" The man shrugged. "Not Madame Order M. She said our private brand." Tund looked at the label, Love's Toast. No brand name, no expiry date, just a plain sticker. He opened one box carefully. Inside, 10 bottles wrapped in pink paper. Too plain, too suspicious. He slipped one bottle into his backpack and later sneaked out of the house to a pharmacy nearby. The pharmacist frowned at the boy holding a wine bottle. "Good afternoon, young man. How may I help you?" "Please, sir," Tunde whispered, his voice shaking. "Can you test this drink? I think it's dangerous." The pharmacist's brows knitted.
"Where did you get it?" "My dad's fiancée ordered it for their wedding."
The man's face hardened. He sniffed the liquid, then tested it with a strip. The strip turned deep orange.
This is not wine," he said slowly. Tan's throat went dry. What is it?
I'm not fully sure, but it contains strong chemicals. It's bitter. It's not safe for drinking.
So it's poisoned?
The pharmacist sighed. I can't say for sure, but it's definitely harmful. Show this to your father.
He won't believe me, Tunda whispered.
The man looked at him sadly. Then be careful. You're a brave boy. Tunda nodded, hiding the bottle back in his bag. As he walked home under the glow of streetlights, he felt smaller than ever. But inside, a fire burned. He was no longer guessing. He was sure. Back at the mansion, nobody noticed his absence. Guests were already arriving from abroad. The compound buzzed with decorators, caterers, and rented speakers. Chioma glided around the house in a flowing silk robe, smiling and giving instructions. But Toon wasn't smiling. He locked the poisoned bottle in his drawer and stared at it. Proof. Hard proof. That night, as he lay in bed, he whispered into the darkness, "If she tries to give Dad that drink at the wedding, I'll stop it. Even if nobody believes me. Even if they laugh. Even if they drag me away. I'll stop it." Sleep didn't come. Only the ticking of the clock, loud and relentless. By morning he was ready. He tucked the flash drive and the photo of the poisoned wine into his bag. Tomorrow was the wedding. Tomorrow everything would come to light. The morning of the wedding arrived like thunder. Music blared from rented speakers, drums echoed in the compound, and guests poured into the Grand Ikoi mansion dressed in glittering lace, gali, and albada. Cars lined the street outside, and the air smelled of fried meat and fresh flowers. Tunde stood at his window, dressed in a crisp white shirt and black trousers. His hands trembled as he buttoned up, his chest tight with dread. From the corner of his desk, the flash drive glinted like a weapon. The small bottle of poisoned wine sat locked in his drawer. Today, everything would be exposed, or lost forever. Downstairs, laughter filled the air. Decorators bustled, photographers snapped pictures, and ushers directed guests beneath the decorated canopy. At the front, 2 elegant white chairs sat on a stage, one for the groom and one for the bride. The officiating minister flipped through his notes, ready to begin. "Smile for the camera, son," Mr. Adewale said as he pulled Tun close for family photos. His agbada shone in the sunlight, and his face glowed with joy. Tunde forced a small smile, though his insides churned. His eyes found Chioma across the compound. She was radiant in a gold and white gown, her makeup flawless, her smile wide. To the guests, she looked like the perfect bride. But to Tunde, she looked like death disguised as beauty. The ceremony began. The minister spoke of love, trust, and unity. Guests clapped, fanned themselves with lace handkerchiefs, and nodded in agreement.
Then came the vows.
"I promise to love you and protect you as long as I live," Mr. Adewale said proudly. "I promise to make your joy my joy, and your pain my pain," Chioma replied, her voice trembling with fake sweetness. Some women in the crowd dabbed at their eyes. "So touching," one whispered. But Tunde wasn't touched. His heart thudded in his chest, his eyes glued to the table near the stage. A waiter placed 2 glasses of wine on a silver tray. One was darker red. The other was pale, almost golden. Chioma's eyes flickered toward the lighter glass. She picked it up with both hands, turned to the crowd, and smiled. "This drink," she said softly, "represents our love. Sweet, powerful, and eternal. I want to share it with the man who stole my heart." The crowd erupted in applause. Phones rose in the air to capture the moment. Tunde's breath caught. His father reached for the glass.
"Dad, stop."
The voice rang out sharp and clear. The entire compound fell silent. Heads turned. Cameras swung. Murmurs rippled through the guests. Tunde was walking toward the stage, eyes blazing, fists clenched. "Don't drink it, Dad," he said firmly. "That wine is poisoned." Gasps filled the air. The minister froze. The MC's mouth hung open. Mr. Adewale frowned, confused. "Tunde, what are you saying?" Chioma's smile slipped for the first time. "What?" she said, her voice shaking slightly. "That's ridiculous." She laughed nervously. "He's just nervous about the wedding." "I'm not joking." Ting shouted, his small voice echoing across the compound. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the flash drive. I have proof. I've recorded her calls. She said once he drinks it, everything will be mine. I tested that wine. It's poison. The guests erupted into whispers. He recorded her? He tested it? Is this true? Chioma tried to laugh again, but her voice cracked. He's lying. He's just a child. Play it, a woman shouted from the crowd. Let us hear the recording. Yes, another man chimed in. Let the boy speak. The MC quickly plugged the flash drive into the sound system. The speakers crackled, and then Chioma's voice filled the air, cold and unmistakable. Once the wedding is done and he drinks it, the house, the cars, the money, everything is mine. A second clip followed. You'll get your cut. But don't think we're sharing equally. I'm the one marrying him, not you. Don't call me again at night. You'll ruin everything. The crowd erupted. Ha! She said it herself. This woman is evil. Chioma's hand shook. The glass slipped from her fingers and shattered on the ground. Mr. Adewale's face went pale. Chioma, is this true? She stammered, Baby, I can explain. No! Tundi cried, stepping in front of his father. She can't explain anything. She was going to kill you. Look at the bottle, Dad. It's not even real wine. I had it tested. It's poison. The compound descended into chaos. Some guests shouted for the police. Others surged forward angrily. Chioma stumbled backward, her eyes darting wildly. Then she turned and ran. Stop her, someone yelled. But two men blocked her path. She tried to push past screaming, but they grabbed her arms. Guests shouted, Call the police. Don't let her escape. Sirens wailed in the distance. Within minutes, two police vans pulled up at the gate. Officers swarmed the compound. Inspector Baligan himself stepped forward, his face calm but stern. Arrest her, he commanded. Chioma shrieked as handcuffs clicked around her wrists. It wasn't me. He forced me. It was all Connell's idea. Connell? Inspector Baligan repeated, raising a brow. Chioma froze, realizing she had said too much. The officers dragged her toward the van as the crowd buzzed with shock. Phones recorded every moment, whispers flying through the air. On the stage, Mr. Adewale sank into a chair, trembling. He buried his face in his hands. Tunde stood beside him, silent, his small chest rising and falling quickly. Finally, his father looked up, tears in his eyes. He reached for Tune and pulled him into a tight embrace. I should have listened to you, he whispered. You saved my life. And in that moment, as the drums fell silent and the music stopped, it was clear the wedding was over, but Tund had won. The compound had never been so silent. The music was gone. The laughter, the clinking glasses, the shouting, all gone. Only the murmurs of shocked guests and the distant sirens lingered in the humid Lagos air. Mr. Adewale sat slumped in a chair on the stage, his agbada heavy on his shoulders, his eyes hollow. Beside him stood Tune, still trembling, though he refused to let go of his father's arm. The boy's small face was pale, but his eyes remained sharp, unblinking, as if he dared anyone to deny what had just happened. Inspector Baligan stepped onto the stage. He was a tall, broad man with a calm presence that silenced the whispers around him. His uniform was crisp, his cap tucked neatly under one arm. He looked at Tunda first, then at the broken wine glass still glittering on the ground. Well done, young man, the inspector said quietly, his deep voice cutting through the tension. You may have just saved your father's life. Tunda nodded but said nothing. His throat was too tight to speak. Two officers returned to the stage, carrying the small bottle Tunda hidden away. They had retrieved it from his drawer after he confessed where it was. Inspector Baligan took it in his hand, studied the plain sticker that read Love's Toast, and shook his head. This doesn't look like wine. We'll run urgent tests. He turned to Mr. Adewale. Sir, I understand this is overwhelming, but I need you to answer honestly. Did you sign any document she gave you recently? Mr. Adewale blinked, trying to gather his thoughts. Yes. Yesterday, she asked me to sign a paper. She said it was for the wedding registry. I didn't read it. Inspector Baligan's face darkened. We'll collect it immediately. It may not be a registry. It could be a property transfer or worse. The words sank like stones in the groom's chest. He leaned forward, holding his head in his hands. How could I be so blind? Tunda tightened his grip on his father's arm. She fooled everyone, Dad. Not just you. That night the compound emptied slowly. Guests whispered as they left, shaking their heads, some casting sympathetic glances at the Adiwali family, others shaking their heads in disbelief. By midnight, only a few police officers remained taking photos of the stage, the bottles, and the scattered decorations. Inside the mansion, the once celebratory living room had turned into a somber investigation room. Officers sat at the dining table writing notes. Chioma's purse had been searched, and from it Inspector Baldigan pulled out a second phone, small, black, with no contacts saved. This is a burner phone, he said, lifting it with a gloved hand. We'll examine it. Moments later he returned, his voice low but firm. The phone has messages. Most are deleted, but we've recovered a few. They're from someone named Cunnel. Mr. Adiwal looked up sharply. Cunnel? Who is that? Tooney's stomach clenched. She mentioned him on the phone, Dad. She told him not to call her at night. Inspector Baligan opened his notebook. One message said, make sure he drinks it in front of people so it doesn't look like your fault. Another said, get the document signed before the toast. Mr. Adiwal's face went white. He closed his eyes. So I did sign something dangerous. Yes, Baligan replied grimly. And this Cunnel may be her real partner in crime. Hours later, at the station, Chioma sat in an interrogation room. Her wedding gown had been replaced with a plain wrapper. Her makeup smeared, her hair disheveled, her wrists still bound in handcuffs. The glamorous bride was gone, only a cornered liar remained. Inspector Baligan entered calmly and placed the burner phone on the table. Chioma, we know you weren't acting alone. Who is Cunnel? She kept her head down. No one. Baligan slid the printed messages across to her. Then why do these texts say otherwise? Her lips trembled. Finally, she whispered, He promised me we'd leave this country. He said we'd take everything and disappear. Who is he to you? She hesitated. Her eyes flickered with shame. He's my husband. Baligan's brows rose. Husband? You're already married. Tears filled her eyes. Yes. We married secretly years ago, but things were hard. We had nothing. Cunnel said if I married a rich man, we'd finally escape poverty. Baligan leaned forward. So you plan to poison your groom, steal his wealth, and run away with Cunnel. Her voice cracked. Far enough to kill, Baligan snapped. Far enough to ruin a family. Back at the Adiwal mansion, Tundi sat on the couch wrapped in a blanket. His father sat beside him, silent, staring into nothing. The newspaper headlines the next morning would be brutal. Wedding poison plot foiled by 13-year-old son. But in that moment, all Mr. Adiwali could think was how close he had come to losing everything. I almost gave my life to a stranger, he muttered. I ignored the only one who truly cared. Tunda looked up at him softly. I forgive you, Dad. Mr. Adiwal pulled his son into a hug, tears sliding down his cheeks. You saved me, Tande. You saved my life. The following day, Inspector Baligan returned with an update. He sat with them at the dining table, spreading documents across the polished wood. The drink contained a sedative called Zulexin. In small doses, it causes unconsciousness. In larger amounts, especially mixed with alcohol, it can stop the heart. It was poison, sir. She meant to kill you. Mr. Adewale swallowed hard, his hand shaking. So she was never here for love. No, Baligan said firmly. She came for your wealth, and Cunnel gave her the tools. Tunde clenched his fists. Will you catch him? We're trying. He's been moving around using fake names. But he made a mistake. We traced him booking a guest house in Acadia with one of his old SIM cards. By evening, Inspector Baligan and his team raided the guest house. Cunnel was there pacing with a bag packed, filled with cash and forged IDs. The arrest was swift. At the station, Cunnel sat across from Baligan, his eyes cold, his voice bitter. She failed because of that boy. A child ruined everything. Baligan leaned in. No, your own greed ruined everything. Within days, both Chioma and Cannell were charged with conspiracy, fraud, and attempted murder. Weeks later, the trial began at the Lagos High Court. The courtroom was packed. Journalists filled the benches, and cameras clicked nonstop. People whispered about Tun, the boy who had stopped a wedding. On the witness stand, Inspector Baligan testified about the poison, the recordings, and the fraudulent documents. Then it was Tun's turn.
The judge asked gently, "What made you speak out, son?"
Tunde's voice was steady, though his hands trembled.
"Because I knew if I stayed quiet, my dad would die. I couldn't let that happen."
Gasps filled the courtroom. The judge nodded. Brave words for a boy, Chioma wept in the dock. Tunnel sat stiffly, his face hard, but his eyes restless. At the end of the trial, the judge declared this was not love. This was greed. And greed almost cost a man his life. But truth and courage prevailed. Chioma was sentenced to 25 years. Cannell received 30 years as the mastermind. The courtroom buzzed with whispers as the gavel struck. Back at home, life slowly returned to normal. The mansion no longer echoed with fake laughter. Instead, it was filled again with the simple sounds of father and son, quiet conversations, the smell of Sunday stew, the clatter of plates in the kitchen. One Saturday morning, Mr. Adewale entered Tun's room carrying a small box wrapped in silver paper.
"What's this?" Tund asked. "Open it," his father said softly.
Inside was a plaque that read, "Tatinde Adewale, for saving a life and speaking the truth. You are a hero."
Tund's eyes shone. "Dad."
Mr. Adewale hugged him tightly. "I almost lost everything. But because of you, I didn't. Thank you, son." From that day, no matter what whispers followed them, one truth remained unshakable. A boy's courage had saved his father, and sometimes the quietest voice could be the loudest shield. Weeks passed, and the Adewale mansion slowly returned to peace. The flowers in the garden bloomed again. The sound of laughter, real laughter, echoed through the living room.
The compound, once decorated for a poisoned wedding, was now simply home.
But even with life settling down, Tun never forgot what happened. Sometimes, late at night, he would sit by his window, staring at the Lagos skyline glowing in the distance, and whisper to himself, "If I had stayed quiet, Dad would be gone." One evening, his father sat with him on the balcony. The air was cool, filled with the distant hum of traffic and the faint rhythm of Afrobeat music from a neighbor's party. "Son," Mr. Adewale said softly, "I used to think strength meant building companies, making money, and wearing fine Abeda. But you showed me something greater."
Tunde tilted his head. "What's that, Dad?"
"Strength," his father replied, his eyes wet, "is speaking the truth, even when nobody believes you. Strength is protecting the people you love, no matter the cost."
Tunde nodded slowly. In his young heart, he knew those words were true.
The Bible says in Proverbs 12, verse 19, "Truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue lasts only a moment." Chioma's lies had collapsed like a weak house in the rain, but Tunde's truth had endured. And in Proverbs 31, verse 8, the scripture reminds us, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves. Ensure justice for those being crushed." Though he was just a boy, Tunde had spoken up, loud enough to save his father's life. At church the following Sunday, whispers filled the air as the Adewales walked in. People pointed at Tunde, some smiling, some shaking their heads in amazement. After service, an elderly woman touched his shoulder. "My son," she said, "your courage reminds me of young David in the Bible. He was small, but he faced Goliath because he trusted the truth."
Tunde lowered his eyes shyly, but inside his heart swelled.
Later that night, as father and son prayed together before bed, Mr. Adewale's voice trembled. "Lord, forgive me for my blindness. Thank you for giving me a son who saw what I could not. May I never again ignore the voice of truth, no matter how small." Tunde whispered his own prayer. "Lord, please make me brave again if I ever need to be." The Bible says in John 8, verse 32, "Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." And indeed it was truth, spoken by a 13-year-old that had set the Adewale family free from a trap of lies, greed, and death. Days turned into weeks, and though the headlines eventually faded, people never stopped talking about the boy who stopped a wedding. Some told the story with shock, others with admiration, but everyone agreed Tunde had saved his father by refusing to stay silent.
And perhaps that is the lesson for all of us.
Silence is comfortable. Silence avoids embarrassment. But silence can also destroy lives. It is when we speak, when we raise our voices for truth, that chains are broken, lies are exposed, and lives are saved. Maybe you are like Tundi. You see something others don't. You feel in your heart that something's wrong. The world may laugh at you, dismiss you, or call you just a child. But remember this, truth has power. Truth has a voice. And truth, no matter how small, can save a life. So speak up. Protect those you love. Don't let fear seal your lips, because sometimes the quietest voices save the loudest lives. As the Lagos night grew still, father and son sat side by side holding hands. The scars of betrayal were still healing, but hope had returned. Tun leaned his head against his father's shoulder, and for the first time in months, both of them felt safe.
And you, the one listening to this story right now, what about you?
Will you be silent when you know the truth? Or will you speak even if your voice shakes? Remember what Jesus said in Matthew 5, verse 14. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Be that light. Speak your truth. Shine in the darkness. And if this story moved your heart, don't just keep it to yourself. Share it with others. Leave a comment below about what you learned. And if you want more stories filled with lessons, courage, and hope, subscribe now so you never miss another tale. Because sometimes the stories we hear are not just stories. They are warnings. They are lessons. They are mirrors.
And who knows? One day your own voice might be the one that saves a life.
Thanks for watching this story all the way to the end. You're amazing for staying with us. If you enjoyed this video, don't stop here. We've got plenty more stories just like this one waiting for you. Simply click on one of the videos popping up on your screen right now and keep the journey going. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next upload. Until next time, stay inspired, stay curious, and keep the stories alive.